Okay. So, hello all. So, this is Arvind from Isha Training. So, I'll be walking you through the mobile automation course for you. So, just let's get started over here. Just a minute. Okay. So, this course is about your mobile automation training. Okay. So, and myself, Arvind. So, I'll be walking you through the session. So, a small introduction about myself. And I have like around like 13 plus years of experience in automation engineering, and I worked with a variety of frameworks like TestNG, Cucumber, JUnit, Serenity, and the recent Cypress, and then Playwright as well. And I worked with a lot of clients, which includes like Verizon, Standard Chartered, Emerson, BT, and Binance, to name a few. And from the corporate training experience, with both online and offline, I have around like 8 years. I've been doing this for around 8 years. And yep, that's quite about myself actually. And yeah, so before we get started into our session, so kindly like, can you ping in the chat like, maybe your name is visible to me, but what is your years of experience and what is your occupation and stuff? It will be really nice. So just a quick 60 seconds, like we can spend on that. Okay, so that I will know like what type of audience you are into it. Okay, so which will be helpful for me to take forward the session. So can you just ping in the chat like what type of audience like you are, like say, no need the name because I'll be able to see it up. But can you ping the experience and what you're working on, something like that? Okay, thanks, Pavan. Okay, so anyone else maybe? Yeah. Okay. Okay, thanks, Bindu. Thanks, Stube. Okay, thank you. Mhm. Okay. Yep. Thank you. Thanks all guys. Maybe yeah. So I just got all your informations. Okay. So mostly like maybe Yogesh Yadav, you're into automotive industry. So what pulled you towards like software side? So you want to make a jump or something like that towards the software side, or it's just an interest that you enrolled and you want to check it out? Yeah, I want to make a jump. Okay, that's really great. And I see most of you are already working into either automation or you're like say different part of automation. So just it's like say your demand or something happened and then you enrolled in this course. I assume so like that. But yeah, that's it's great to hear, like, and good to know each other, and thanks for your efforts. Yeah. Okay, so let's get started into our course actually. So what is mobile automation? Okay, let me zoom in a bit. Okay, so I hope now it's clear. So the slides and the documentation, everything will be shared to you. So don't worry about it. So what is mobile automation? So that's the first question that comes when we enroll in this course. So just let me put it again towards you itself, actually. So what made you to enroll into the course, and what is mobile automation? So did you do any some kind of R&D or something like that before you enrolled into the course or something like that? Or did anyone suggest you to enroll into this course or something like that? Maybe just talk a brief about it. Okay. So anyone from the group, like, say, what made you to enroll in this course, and how is this course to you, and what would be your expectation to you? Again, a quick 60 seconds or 30 seconds. You can also type it in the chat. Yeah. Or you can unmute yourself as well. Either ways, it should be fine. Okay. So, anyone, like, say, why did you enroll in this course, and how it's, like, say, anyone suggested, wanted to learn how to perform machine testing on mobile apps? Okay, fine. Okay. Yeah, that's really good to know, actually. Yeah. Yeah, always like upskilling is the best option, actually. Yeah. When we are in an IT industry. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, that's a good reason I would tell. Yeah. Yeah, no problem. So, what is mobile automation, and what are these stuffs actually? So, mobile automation is nothing but if you're going to automate anything inside your mobile device. So, whether it's going to be your iOS or Android or even your Huawei platform. So, technically, we call it as your mobile automation. So, when you're into the mobile automation, so the major thing would be, like, say, I need to understand what are the different types of mobile existing in an industry. So anybody know, like, Huawei has its own, like, say, platform. Okay, and do you know, like, what platform they use, Huawei, by any chance? Okay, so anyone in the group, like, say, do you know what does a Huawei platform will hold? Yeah, no problem. Actually, there are three different platforms altogether available now. So one is, like, say, one will be your Android, so which the majority of people are using it, and next one will be your iOS, and the third one. So if you're in India, you might not get a chance, but if you're in outside of India, like, you might have experienced something like a Huawei. So it's again another platform available where we have the Huawei Gallery, separate one, like an app store or a play store. They have it. So totally, like, say, three items they would be having it up. And from the automation perspective, so if it's going to be an APM, okay, so that's what we are going to deal with it. Okay, so it can still automate all these three operations. Okay, so that is one more thing. Okay, and again, even though the Huawei is like a Huawei Gallery, or they have their own OS system, which we call it as a Harmony. So even though it has it, so it's again a simple Android only. So that's the reason, like, APM will have the support for it. Okay. So, and APM has, like, say, it supports almost everything, I would say, from your automation perspective. So it will be quite interesting to learn. And again, like say the programming language that we deal with the APM would be like say with respect to your Java. So even though it supports like say C Sharp, JavaScript, and everything, so Java is most popularly used along with your APM. So we'll be dealing with your Java. And let me also write it down actually quick. So let me zoom in a bit. So APM is our mobile automation tool. Okay. So basically it's your open source tool. Okay. And the version that we'll be dealing with like 2.x. Okay. So that's the version usually we take it up. We are not migrating towards the older version, which is 1.x, which still some companies are using it. But 2.x has much more advantage, okay, when compared to this item. Okay. And again, like say it supports almost all the OS version. Okay, so which is nothing but your Android, and then your iOS, and then your Harmony OS, which is nothing but specific for your Huawei or your Honor devices. And to tell more about APM, okay, so let's see it up. So let's keep this as an overview for now. And just again putting a question to you, like, is there any other automation tool, mobile automation tool that you have experienced in the industry? Okay, whether it's an enterprise or like say uh, an open source tool, it's fine. Can you mention something if you have experienced any other automation tools? You can ping it in the chat. Automation tools available in the market. So do we have any other things? Just a quick one. SLQ. Okay, that's quite interesting. So, did you work on it by any chance? Uh,
Yeah, I worked on that.
okay, that's interesting. Yeah, there's a new one. I'm hearing it. Yeah, thanks for that. So, is it a licensed one or it's an open source?
It's a licensed one.
Licensed one. Okay. Okay, no problem. So, thanks for letting us know the Excel. So basically, what are the other tools available in industries? Like we have like the espresso, we have like XE UI test. We also have something like say Catalan. So again, it's a wrapper on top of it. Okay, yeah, Selenium, and also we have something called Calabash. Okay, and we also have the robot framework, which most probably everyone know about it, but only for web application. Okay, and we have like Selenium Droid, and then we have the Tosca. Okay, so these are some of the things that which popularly, and also one more thing to mention, Ranorex. Okay, these are some of the popular tools which people usually refer to when you come for a mobile automation. But few tools are like say open source, and few tools are enterprise, as you said actually. But most probably now in the current industry, so people want to save a lot. Okay, so that's the reason they move towards your open source tool, and that's the reason like APM comes into picture. And to tell about the history of it, like say, so this is the official website of your APM. So let me give it APM documents. Okay, so this is the official website of your APM. Okay, and let me ping it to you as well. So in case you want to refer it, you can see it up. Okay, so before coming to our session or something. Okay, So APM, like say before 2 version, it was quite a different one altogether. So it was having something like this. Let me show it to you. Okay. So APM for a desktop available. But once APM went into the 2.x.x version, so that means 2 version and above. So basically they didn't have this desktop version, so they deleted it or they deprecated it, and then only now the node version is available in the industry. Okay. So when we say a node version, that means like say it will be easy to start, easy to stop. No need to worry about any desktop items that we need to start and stop. So it will be all done automatically with the help of our code. So that is one advantage, and the package updation and everything right now it's very good, I would tell, when compared to the 1.x version. So and again, like say APM is now standing out with the other tools as well after the 2.x version. Yeah, that's about your APM part. Okay. And basically, like say one more thing is like say APM supports almost all the major languages. Okay. Supports like say Java and then C sharp and then Python, JavaScript, almost all language, whatever you name it, your APM supports it up. And we will be using something like a Java because that is most popularly used along with your APM, and then comes your Python and then your C sharp. Okay, so that's the hierarchy. So we'll be learning along with it in the Java. And now coming back to the slide. So what is like say mobile application? Now coming to it, we saw what is mobile automation, and now we are going to see mobile application. And yeah, before jumping to the mobile application, so most probably if you have your Android or iOS device, right? Android or iOS device. Okay, Harmony will take it up later. So, what is the version of app available in an Android device? So, it's basically an APK, and in an iOS device, basically it's going to be your IPA files. Okay, so files inside Android as extension. Okay, so this is a major difference that first and foremost thing you need to know. Okay, so files inside iOS has extension IPA. Okay, so APK and then IPA. This is the first and foremost thing, the differentiation you need to know. And in Android, we have a Play Store, and in iOS, we have a App Store. So any items you want to download it, you will be downloading it from either of these markets. And now coming back to the history of mobile application. Okay, so it is categorized into three different types of application. One is your native, another one is your web, and another one is your hybrid. So native application corresponds to something like which is specifically available to an Android or an iOS, actually, Android and iOS device. So that's what just a couple of seconds before I mentioned. So Android has a Play Store. So anything and everything which is related to Android, you can download it from your Play Store. And iOS is something like we have an App Store. So anything related to the particular iOS itself, we'll be downloading it from your App Store. Okay, and these two, Android and iOS cannot do a cross function. So that means, like, say, I cannot install an iOS into an Android or Android into an iOS, so it's not possible. Okay, so that's why we call it as your native application. So whenever it's called as a native application, it doesn't go beyond the Android, beyond its own irrespective platform, I would tell, to be more generic. Okay, and if it's an Android, it's not going to go beyond that Android platform, and iOS, it's not going to go beyond the iOS platform. And yeah, so that's the reason we call it as your native application, native to the specific platform. And when coming to the web application part, so it supports for Safari on iOS and Chrome. Okay, and whatever the built-in web browsers available inside your mobile devices, so those things those things can support some application, and usually those applications, when you try to put it on the device, it starts with m dot. Okay, that means mobile dot. So previously it used to be like that, m dot Facebook or something like that. Okay, and these type of items only, like say, we call it as a web application. So where your application can exist inside a mobile browser, where you can search, you can play around and stuff. Even you can automate it up. It doesn't matter. So these things only we call it as your web application. And now coming to the hybrid one. So hybrid is nothing but it's a mixture of your web and your mobile. Okay. Sorry, web and your native application. So they are developed with HTML5 and JavaScript wrapped into a native container, and they technically work as your web application, but it's embedded inside a native application. Okay, so initially, like before some 4 5 years back, like hybrid application were more into existence, but nowadays, like say, the native application itself has much more capabilities or developed more capabilities. So that's the reason your hybrid application has come down a bit. So everyone started to adapt towards your native, and yeah, native application. Now, a question to you. So, how many of you use your Android and iOS device? Can you just ping either an Android or an iOS in the chat? What device do you use? Okay, iOS. Thanks for that. Any others? Android. Okay, Android. Okay, that's good. Android. Yep. Thanks for it. Yep. Thank you. Now, again, one more question. By any chance, do you know the app that you're using inside your Android or iOS? What coding language it was developed like? If you know, can you just ping it in the chat? So whoever pinged Android, do you know like what programming language the Android app was built? Okay, Java. That's really great. Yes, it's good to know. Swift for iOS. Yes, yes, correct. So most probably, I think Kotlin. Okay, yeah, that's quite interesting. Yeah, thanks, Bindu, for that. Yeah, so these are the majority of devices. So either you have your Java or your Swift. Okay, so basically any application with respect to Android and iOS, how they are built up is like, so if it's an Android, so it's going to be built either in like say Kotlin or like say Java, majority of it, I would say. But there are other programming languages also that helps to build your Android. So most probably the exception would be like say we have C sharp. Okay. So they have something in C sharp also which supports your Android. So they call it with a different name. I couldn't remember it exactly at this moment, but C sharp also supports it. And also, like say, when you have an iOS, you were right, Swift, that was a majority, but now a new player came into picture, which is nothing but your Flutter. Okay, so Flutter and Swift almost the same programming languages only, so it's not a big difference, I would tell. But these are the programming languages which helps to build your application inside the respective platforms. Okay, yeah, that's good to know. I think people have did some R&D. Yeah, really nice to see that. Yeah, hybrid application. Yeah, let's move on. And which application to choose about? Okay, so which application can I choose in order to work around with your application? Okay, so how we choose whether it's going to be a native, hybrid, or a web application? So it depends upon these four categories. Okay, so we need what is the performance, how it should be, and what is the desired features, and the development time, and the budget constraint. Okay, so most probably like hybrid, lot of people nowadays are not preferring it, but instead what they're doing it is like they have something like a native application. Their preference is more towards the native application, and a lot of features, and due to the development time as well actually. So native applications are a little easy to develop when compared to hybrid, and also the budget. Okay, so if you heard in an industry like we have something like a React and an Angular available, so these most probably like they perform it with respect towards your web application, and also towards your mobile application as well. So based on these criterias, they choose about it, and usually native application is the choice to go nowadays. But still, if people wanted something like an hybrid, they can move about it. Yes. Okay. And what are the prerequisites for it, for our mobile automation testing? So we need to know the Java. Okay, so that's the first and foremost thing. And then we need to know the Selenium. Okay, but Selenium is optional, because anyhow we teach few commands which we borrow from Selenium towards your mobile automation. And we need to have your Android SDK, that is your Android Studio. And SDK stands for your software development kit. And if it's going to be your iOS, we need to have your Xcode. Okay. And one thing to make it clear over here, like since we are jumping into more of technical thing, so if you want to perform your iOS testing, you need an iOS device, supported device. So either it's a Mac, or it's going to be your iOS device as it is. If you want to run it into your real device, and what else actually? Yeah, but if you want to do an Android, so Android supports both platform, whether it's going to be your Mac machine or a Windows machine, it doesn't matter. Your Android supports everything. Only for an iOS, we have some restrictions. It supports only your Mac machine. Okay, so it cannot be done inside your Windows. So that's one sad part. But the good part is like say we have some cloud providers available. Okay, so like Browser Stack, Lambda Test, Sauce Lab, all these things has some free items available. That means like say free source available where we can connect to the cloud environment and automate either an Android or a iOS device. Okay, so that is one. So, just any doubts till here so far, till now, to the crowd? Any doubts here? So, we have seen a couple of slides. Any doubts or any concerns you have, like, or anything that you want to express it or something like that? What is the expectation or something? Not yet. Okay, fine. Okay, so then let's move on to the next slides and see. Okay. So just to give you an intro, so which I already gave it, like APM is an open source automation tool and used for mobile application, and it's for your cross. Okay. Do you share the slides? Yes, definitely. So yeah, thanks for bringing it up. So maybe can you screen sharing shot? Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't realize that. Yeah. How about now? Now it's fine. Sorry, I don't know when it stopped sharing. So yeah, I hope now my screen is visible. Yep. Thanks for the confirmation. Yeah, the slides, I'll definitely share it. But before that, if you can ping your name and mobile number, so we'll just WhatsApp you the items. Okay. So just a request to the crowd of 15 people over here. Just if you can quickly type in your name and your mobile number where your WhatsApp is available, so it should be fine. Yeah, so we'll be sending in the slides. So before the end of the session, we still have around like 25 minutes or 30 minutes available. So if you can share your name and mobile number, so it will be useful. Yeah, I'll just drop in the slides after the session. Yeah, okay. So let's see about it. Okay, let's proceed. So in the meantime, you can type in your name and mobile number. It would be nice. Or yeah, that should be fine. So the next one is like say let's proceed it up. So APM is open source tool and it supports different platform. It supports your mobile web browser automation as well. And this is the official websites actually, the installation. Okay. So, okay. And the next one would be like say what are the advantages of using your APM. So that's the first and foremost question
just
people will be
for you guys
asking
to feel
in your
comfortable.
industry when you propose a tool. So what do I get if I use this tool? So basically it's an open source, so that's the main advantage. No need to pay anyone. Okay, and it supports almost all the applications, whether it's a native, hybrid, or your web browser. And the support major programming languages Java, Python, C Sharp, JavaScript. PHP has become a little old, but still it supports, and Ruby as well, because Calabash, the tool that we saw, the other
What?
than
How do you?
APM, so it uses Ruby. And the integration between a CI/CD tool, that will be a lot of people's in mind. How do I integrate it? So APM will support the integration. Okay, so whether it's a Jenkins or Circle CI or GitLab, anything, it's not a problem. Okay, and the test codes, like say you can run your test codes in an emulator, simulator, real device, anywhere, whatever you name it, your APM will be able to test it around. Okay, and the thing is like say again we have the two operations. Okay, XUI test and your espresso, which is one of the most famous one. So we'll not be touch basing the espresso, but XUI test will be touch basing it, because we need to use our Mac machines and your iOS device in order to run it up. Okay, but espresso we will not be touch basing it. Okay, because it's totally a different platform. Okay, so we'll not be doing that one, but XUI test will be touching a little bit. Okay, a few concepts. Okay, and one more thing is like APM is a UI automation tool. Okay, and it doesn't support like say going into your code, that means your developer's code, and testing it. It doesn't do it. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Okay, but your espresso or your XUI test will be doing it, so it needs a code base in order to test your application. Okay, so that's about the advantage of it. Okay, and the next one would be to say how does your APM work. Okay, so this will be seeing it as a brief one because today is a day one, so I don't want you to burden more. So just we'll see it as a brief. How does your APM work? But once we start from tomorrow, it will be a full-fledged one. So I can show you like how does it work. Okay, and APM is nothing but it's a server. Okay, so that means any interaction between your code to your device will pass through your APM. Okay, and how does it pass through the APM is like say we need to have something called a node.js through which only we install your APM. So it creates a server for you, and then whatever you pass from your code to your device, it has an intermediary called APM, and the APM reads the code, sends the code to your device. So how it sends to the device is simple. It passes it as a mobile JSON wire protocol. Okay. But when it interacts with your Android or an iOS, okay, so how the shakehan happens from your APM to your device. So we have something called your WebDriver agent in your iOS, and inside your Android we have your APM. Let me get the name correct. Actually, it's an APM setting, or what is it? Just yeah, APM settings. Yes. So it's the name is APM settings. Okay. So let me mention that over here as well as a sub point. So if it's going to be an iOS, it's going to be the WebDriver agent that will communicate with the APN. Okay. And if it's an Android, so that's going to be your APM settings that will communicate with APM. Two different platforms, so two different names. So that's the reason, but the operation is the same. So it converts your commands to your mobile JSON wire protocol, and then it executes those commands inside your devices. So initially it happens to the APM session, and then the interaction between your Android and iOS happen to the desired capabilities. So nowadays, like say, uh, we call it as nowadays we call the capabilities as UI. Okay, let me get the name right. Just a moment. Okay, yeah, XUI test operation. Okay, so that's for your. Yeah. So XUI test operation, and this is for your iOS. And another one for Android would be like say we call it as your what is it? UI automator 2 option. Okay. For Android. This is how basically it works. Okay. So I'll just correct this color actually, but right now I don't have it. Yeah. Okay. So we don't have the desired capabilities anymore after your 2.x version. So we'll be using your XUI test and iOS for iOS and UI Automator 2 for Android. Okay. So let me change the color quickly so that I can send you after this session. Okay. So these are the two items majorly we use it up. Okay. For our automation development keywords, I would tell. Okay. Based on this only all the items has been derived. Okay, so most of you would have seen like say if you are dealt with the Selenium, so you would have seen like say WebDriver, right? The same kind of option, only it's over here UI automated 2 option and XUI test options. Okay, so these are the drivers available which will drive the automation results. Okay, so any doubts here so far till now? Anything over now till now? Okay, so I assume everything is good. So now let's start it up. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so now how does your Android works with your? So this is just a working flow. Okay, so how does your Android works with your APM? So basically, like say we have a client library, which we call it as your Java client library. So as of now, we have the version as 9.x. Okay, so it sends your REST API request to the APM server. So that we were talking about it. If it's an Android, okay, so to the APM server, and the format will be your mobile JSON wire protocol, and the APM server in turn will be connected towards your device. Okay, which can be either an emulator or a real device. Anyone it can be there. Okay. And again, what happens over here is like when it establishes the connection, or how does it establishes the connection? So basically, we have a bridge, okay, inside your APM. So ADB is nothing but your Android debug bridge. Okay, so through that, only your APM will be communicating with your emulator or your real device. Okay, so we call it as your ADB for Android. How the communication happens, we have something called ADB, and the abbreviation will be Android Debug Bridge. Okay, so through that only it gets communicated. And what happens over here is like, say, once after the communication happens, so the we have something called a bootstrap jar file available in Android, which converts it to your understandable language. That means Android understandable language. And UI automator sends the commands to the device, which is nothing but your automator option. So now it's UI automator 2 actually, technically, and the device sends back the response to your APM server. So that means whatever action it needs to perform, it performs on the device, and whatever the device sends to the particular APM server, it will be sent, okay, to the client. And then what happens is like the Android driver settings. So that means I'm coming about to tell the APM settings communicates to your APM server device, and from the device, the APM server, it communicates. So basically, it's a shake hand session that is happening now between your uh, code, your APM, and then your APM settings. So APM setting is nothing but APM settings is nothing but it's kind of a mediator. It converts all your codes into your device understandable language, and then it executes. Okay, so that's what basically. And next one, coming to the iOS part, it's going to be the same, but a small difference is like, say, we have the WebDriver agent. So here the interesting part is like, say, let me open a simulator and show it to you. Okay, just a minute. How does it exist actually? Really quick. Let's go to file, open, simulator. I'll teach you how to use these simulators and emulators. Okay, and on the real device as well. Okay, let it kickstart. I'll show you how does a WebDriver agent look like. So if you see, this is an iOS 15 simulator, and you can see this is a WebDriver app. Okay, so usually this is the app through which your APM server will communicate with this device. And similarly, in Android, you have a ADB. In iOS, like say, we have something called your XC1. Okay, so through this only the interaction. So device specific commands or interaction happens. Okay, so this is the one. So that's what it's available over here. So now let's quickly check it. Like how does the communication happens? So Apple uses the Apple's native XUI test API. So that's the reason I said if you're going to use your Apple device for automation, it needs to have a Mac machine. Okay, so without Mac machine, you cannot do anything with your iOS. But if there is a cloud support, then it should be completely fine. But again, cloud doesn't come free, so we need to pay a bit actually for some luxury. So that's the reason. And the client library, coming back to the slide, the client library has a REST API, and it requests to your APM, and the requests are converted to a mobile JSON wire protocol, and the APM interacts with your iOS device. So commands will be interrupted by your WebDriver agent, which I showed you quite now. So this is the WebDriver agent. So every commands from your APM server interacts over here, and from here only to any apps inside this device, it will be interacting. and the WebDriver converts to your all the commands to your device understandable test. From the device, the APM uses the same WebDriver agent to communicate back towards your APM server. This is how the communication happens. So, any doubts here so far till now? How does your happen? Because most probably all your interview question definitely they'll ask this question. So, what is a WebDriver agent, and how does your communication happens between your WebDriver agent and stuff? So, you should be in a right position to tell it out. Okay, so yeah, that's about it. Why we are seeing this flow. Now coming back to the slide. So any doubts? Maybe a quick 30 seconds. I'll pause and let's see if there is any doubts or something pops up. Let me know. Anyone? Any question, even if it's a basic or something, please don't hesitate. We are here to help. So definitely we'll be helping out to each other. Yeah. Okay. Laptop minimum requirement to do all this practical part. That's a very good question, I would tell. Yeah. We didn't touch base on that. So basically, the laptop requirement, I would say, like if you have a 8 GB of RAM, it should be sufficient, but you can open one application at a time. Okay. So even though we suggest, like say, to create an emulator, I would say it is best to use a real device in order to connect to your APM and then run it over there in your device. So 8 GB of RAM and hard disk size, most probably your APM or your emulator, it would hardly use a 50 GB as an approximate actually. But if you keep on adding apps into your emulator or simulator, your size seems to expand. But 8 GB of RAM and then 50 GB of hard disk size, 256 or 500 GB of hard disk size on a total should be fine. Yeah. Thanks for bringing it up. Yeah. Utkash to be. Sorry if I spelled your name wrong. Yeah. Thanks for bringing it up. Yes. And in case, like, if you have your Mac machines, so anyone has a Mac machine with you by any chance? MacBook or something like that. Yeah. Okay. Then I think for you, the minimum requirement should be fine. Yeah, because Mac, as from my knowledge, I think like I'm using an M1, and if you have an Intel version also, it should be fine. So that means the chipset that your Mac is holding. So it should be even the minimum configuration should be fine. Yeah. But for Windows laptop alone, like sometimes there might be a memory issue. So if you open like say IntelliJ is a platform through which we develop our automation scripts. So if that is open, or your Eclipse is open, or your Android Studio is open, so it might occupy memory a bit. So that's the reason like for Windows alone, if you have a better RAM, 8 or 16 GB, it should be fine. Yeah. Yeah. Lesser GB is also fine, but still it will be a pretty slow one. Yeah, nothing much to it. Okay. So next, coming back to the slides. So how does an installation happen? So it is okay, very small actually. So as I mentioned, the direct download for Windows EXE or iOS, but right now it is deprecated, I would tell. If you already installed, we are the lucky ones like me. Okay, so it's deprecated. So it's only for your 1.x version, your desktop versions. Okay, we can't find it anywhere now, any source where you can download it because it's totally gone. So that's where the npm came into picture. So npm is nothing but your node package manager. Okay, and it's installable from here, and this is how you install your node. Okay, so this way, or you can simply mention Okay, so this is the Appium installation command I would. Okay. So Appium installation command. Okay. So npm install, and then you can mention the version, or you can also leave the version alone. So it doesn't matter. Okay. And similarly, like Appium Doctor will be available if some people have used your Appium 1 version, right? So they might have used this Doctor, but right now it is deprecated, but still it works. Okay, you can still using it. So what is the reason of using an Appium Doctor? As a name suggests, like say it will check for the missing components availability. Okay, and then if it is missing, it will show you the installation and those kind of things. Okay, on a Mac machine. Okay, so that's one of the like say uh, I would say, like if people are using it, like it will be a good one actually. So because nowadays Macs are pretty better, so we need to download it from the App Store. So which is nothing but here. Let me check this one. Uh, better. Okay, let me put this. What is this link is about? Really quick. Yeah, the developer account. Yes, as I predicted. So set up this developer account. So we need to have this one set up developer account. Okay, that's quite important, I would tell actually. And then we need to install your Xcode. So that is also important. So let me delete this. So this is for installing Xcode. Okay, which is very important. Okay, and if you want to install your Xcode from your brew, okay, so brew is something like it's kind of a terminal, or like it's kind of a native Mac operation which is available, then you can use this one. Okay, installation via brew. I'll tell you all this one, but just to give you an overview what we are going to do about. Okay, so this one right now we don't require it. So we need the iOS device and cartridge. So all these commands we need to use it up. Okay. So for an Windows machine. Okay. So let me specifically mention over here, not for Windows. Okay. Because Windows, if you install your node, okay, and then this Appium, it should be very well fine. Okay. So just I'm being quite clear on that, because some people will try to install Mac on Windows, all these options, but unfortunately we cannot do it. Okay, so that's one thing. Yes. So just we reached our end of our session for today. Okay, so hope it was quite interesting to know you. For me, it was interesting to know you people, and the same likewise, like I hope the same from your side as well. So before we end our session, there are a couple of slides, one more slide. So which I want to tell touch base, which is nothing but your ADB device. Okay. So this lists the device attached to your laptop or your desktop. Okay. And it is specific to Android. Okay. So this is specific to Android. Okay, and it can detect both emulator, simulator, or real device. Okay, anything it can be available. And there is a list of Android device commands, and it's a quite interesting concept. So when we deep dive into the session, I'll update you on this one. Okay, so just I want to touch base. It's very important to learn the ADB commands. Okay, because most of your operation without opening your Android device itself, you can do it up. Okay, and this is the person to contact in case of any session related stuffs. Okay, so yeah, now coming to the Q&A part. So it's the forum for you. So any doubts and anything, we can discuss it. Okay, so if you want to unmute yourself, you can unmute yourself, or if you want to type the question, feel free to type it up. So anything, anyone, any questions for me or to the crowd, maybe? Okay, so okay, somebody's typing. Let me wait for it a bit. Okay, so in case if you don't have any questions, like thanks for attending the session and thanks for taking the time. And tomorrow we'll start with the real session installation and stuff. I just wanted to give you a heads up before our tomorrow session. So, yep. So feel free to drop off if you. In your experience, how difficult is it to cater to different OS version as well as format? It's quite easy, I would tell. Yeah. So if you start to build an automation, right? So the rest of the items will be. So I feel like say iOS a bit tricky, but Android it's a very easy one. So iOS is very complicated one, but once you set it up, it should be easy. Yeah. Yes, daily recordings of the video will be shared, but I think like today, I think I'm not sure whether they will share on same day. So hopefully they should be able to share it on the same day. But yes, the answer is yes. Yeah. So any doubts or anything? Installation will be done along with our session. Yes, exactly. So all our installation will be done. So we'll be first focusing majorly into installation because it's a bit complicated and you also need to learn it to do it by yourself. So that's the reason the first thing is like say the installation will be done on the same session in the classes only. Okay, any doubts or anything we'll clarify it in the session because that's the first thumb rule. Okay, because I've seen like some people going through midway of the session, they had some installation issue. So I just give preference first to the installation. Yes, that's for you, Aisha. And Utkarsh Dubey, this will be weekday class. So how long will it take? Yeah, it takes um, around like 40 to 50 hours, I would say. Okay, so as a number of days, I would tell like say each day 1 hour, so 40 days or something hour we can take it up. Anywhere between 40 to 50 days, I would tell. Yeah, a minimum of 40 days. Yes. Is there any Windows OS, Android emulator, or work on mobile apps? Yeah, we have it. We have an Android Studio. Yeah, mobile app I'll be providing you. So we have Android Studio, and Android Studio creates an emulator for you, and through the emulator you can put the app and you can run it up. But Android Studio, I wouldn't tell it's a very super fast device, but still it works. Yeah, it works. Yes. To answer you, Lillian, yes, it works. Yeah, we have it. And sample application, I'll be providing it to you. Yeah. And Uttarakhand Dubai, like 40 to 50 days, I would tell. So it takes around like minimum of a month, I would tell. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty much that's it. So it's morning time. So yeah, thank you. So it's morning time. So I would thank you to thanks everyone for taking time to attend the session. So hope it was a little useful. So going forward, we'll have mostly practical. So since it's the first day, focusing more into the expectation part. So going forward, we'll have a lot of practical interactions and have a great day ahead and hope to see you back tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you so much.